Serious, people of Reddit, what is the creepiest thing that happened to you while home alone? This happened to my mom. She grew up in Wichita, Kansas while the BTK serial killer was active. The house of one of his first victims was down her block. But one day she was home with her brother. She was upstairs in her room and he was downstairs. Apparently he heard a noise in the backyard moments before the power cut out. This was one of the key things that BTK did before entering the home. She just knew the power went out, then heard her brother scream and yelled for her to run away. She hopped out her window and sprinted barefoot to her Pizza Hut a couple blocks away. She called the police who went to the house but didn't find anything and everything turned out fine. I got a phone call asking how my TV was holding up. I thought it was just the company we bought it from checking up on it and doing their normal customer support stuff until I was told exactly what channel I was watching. I asked who it was on the phone and they said, "Don't worry, I can see you but you can't see me." I was 9 at the time and my parents were out of town for work, so my older sister, 17 at the time, got us all to hide in my parents' closet with the guns and we called the police. When they arrived they called us to let us know it was them knocking on the door. They found footprints but no person. We installed security cameras not soon after and never had a problem again, but it still creeps me out to this day. A man was standing outside on my lawn about 6 years ago in the middle of the day. Freaked me the feck out. Found out he lives next to my house. Same guy, same place. He knocks on my door and asks me if I've seen his cat. I hadn't and asked what it looked like for future reference. He then looks me in the eyes, dead serious, and says, "I don't know," and then stares at me in silence for 30 seconds. Last story. After a snowstorm, I went outside and saw bare human footprints leading from my yard to his house up a hill. This guy is freaky. Edit. I asked around and it turns out this guy has some sort of mental illness, which does explain his behavior. Thanks to those of you who did reply and suggest different actions and reasons for his behavior, as it is what caused me to ask neighbors questions about this. As far as anyone knows, his intentions are not malicious at all, and he is a kind-hearted man. My dog was very restless, but I figured she just wanted to go outside. As we get closer to the door she begins to growl and her hackles raised. Idiot me still opened the door. "Hello, masked stranger." I lucked out, the guy took off running. Saturday morning, 1970s. Dad is at work and my mom and sister went shopping for groceries. I was in the bath when the house was broken into. I froze, trying not to make a sound as I heard someone creeping through the house. Then heard them try to open the bathroom door just as the doorbell rang. It was Mom hoping I'd open the front door because her arms were overloaded with grocery bags. She saw a shadow through the stained glass beside the front door go downstairs. I think that was the one time I'd never been happier to see my mum. I was 9. I got home late one night. It was hot, so the first thing I did was open the back door to let the breeze through. In my dark backyard I saw the glow of a cigarette. Before I could react, I saw the cigarette thrown to the floor and heard someone clamber over my back fence and run away down the alley. My front door, despite being locked and shut tightly, opened multiple times. I had to put a chair in front of it to stop it from opening. We all know the cats at 3 AM meme where your cat starts running around the house and making a huge ruckus in the middle of the night for no reason whatsoever. Yeah, all cats do that. No big deal. Well, one night my cat was doing that and since it was pretty common I just ignored it. Cats do it and it's normal. I was downstairs and not asleep yet, and my cat was upstairs. It kept going for a little while but I paid no attention to it until I heard glass shatter. I went upstairs to check on my cat and see what broke. My cat was sound asleep. Nothing was broken. It literally wasn't 30 seconds after I heard something break that I stood up and went upstairs. And my cat was sleeping like a baby. When I went to go pick her up she did that stretch and yawn thing that cats do after waking up from a long nap. And she had obviously been asleep for quite some time. I never found any broken glass. Weird shit. There's a rotating rooster on the cupola that indicates which way the wind is blowing. Apparently, The rotating rooster needed lubrication because one night during a heavy wind and lightning storm, I heard this grinding sound coming from the attic, as if something was alive and pulsating in the attic. My neighbors were screaming on each other, and after 15 minutes of screaming and talking I heard a shot, then another shot. In that day, man killed his wife and himself. SRY for my English. My family went out grocery shopping once when I was a teenager, so I thought it'd be the perfect time to get some dishes cleaned in peace. After a few minutes, I heard what sounded like somebody trying to talk to me, but I didn't think much of it. I lived in the city so my neighbors were close by and always being loud as shit, so I figured it was them. But then I hear what sounds like somebody's death rattle right by my ear. I don't know how to describe the sound all that well, but it was really disgusting and strangled, like somebody was choking to death. And amp X200B. I freak out, immediately turn around, and there's nothing in the kitchen with me. Somehow that wasn't the strangest part because right after, my cats all rush into the basement. They definitely looked scared and it wasn't often they ran from anything unless people were over. That leaves me and my dog to patrol the house. So I grabbed a knife and looked the place over top to bottom. Even checked the creepy ass attic attached to my mom's bedroom. There wasn't anybody else there. Not even a sign of somebody messing around inside or outside. And amp X200B. So I did the most reasonable thing and scurried into the basement with my pets and cried because I was scared. When I was a kid I was once peacefully going to sleep in my room in the evening. It was dark already and I was alone when I suddenly looked up and noticed some dark figure sitting on the high shelf at the end of the room with the legs down. In a few seconds I realized it was just a pair of pants hanging from the shelf, but for a moment I was shocked. Another time also as a kid I was home alone in the summer and went to the balcony of my project house when I saw a man in black sunglasses waving at me. I quickly hid and looked at him from the other room's window so he wouldn't notice. He just stood there alone in the street looking at the balcony, so I man up and go back there, and then he calls my name. It was my dad. I was staying at my parents' place, sleeping in their bed while they were away, when suddenly I wake up paralyzed while I first heard then saw someone sneaking around. The bedroom door was open. The person, wearing dark clothes, face obscured, eventually came into the room, sat on the bed, and leaned closer, closer, closer. When I was finally able to break the sleep paralysis, the first thing I did was make sure the front door was locked. It was not. Home alone at about 12 years old, watching a movie on my laptop when suddenly the back door slammed shut. I had locked it so I knew something wasn't right. I got up with a metal baseball bat. Then the front door, which I had locked, slammed shut as well. Locked the back door and went to check out the front door. Locked the front door and heard a knocking at the back door. I ran into my room, called the police and hid until they arrived. The knocking was continuous for about 3 minutes, non-stop, until I heard sirens. They had a look at our surveillance video. It showed the doors opening on their own and no one at the back door when I heard knocking. Now there's 2 deadbolts on both doors. I was watching a spooky TV show and it suddenly paused on the cursed item. Soon after of which my dog turned to face the television and started to growl. The towel hanger on my bathroom door has 4 hooks. IDK if there's a proper word, but I only use 2. So, I keep my towels completely different in terms of size and color. On the first, for face, and third, for hands, hook. I live alone and I kept them like that for more than a year. The only times I move the towels is when I put them in the washing machine. No more than 2 weeks ago. During the day, I open my bathroom door and the face towel is on the 4th hook instead of the 1st. I had nobody visiting or anything like that and I've never switched hooks on purpose before. Middle of the night to 3 knocks at my wall. Slept with a knife under my pillow. Wake up in the morning to find footsteps from the forest to the wall and back. I lived on a remote area about 12 kilometers to the nearest house. At the same house in the summer after a nice summer holiday day riding and fixing bikes I was playing basketball by myself. Had the dog out with me. I hear loud footsteps on the second level of the garage. I took the dog with me and a hammer. Walking closer to the stairs. Dog starts pulling away, tail between her legs. I shouted, "Who's there?" No answer. Went alone onto the second level, no one. But the story goes that the old owner hung himself up there. Grammar typos. Smelling cigarette smoke at 3 AM. Even when no one at our home smokes and everyone in our block is asleep at 3 AM. Home alone with 2 babies asleep upstairs. A man's voice comes over the baby monitor shushing a stirring baby. Very softly. I doubt myself as I check both babies. Both sound asleep. 10 minutes later. Same thing again, but this time the man says SSH. Come on, my daughter's name, take your medicine. I completely freak out. Call my husband to come back. No crying baby. No man in the house. 6 months later I discover our neighbors down the road have a daughter with the same name. And presumably a baby monitor on a similar frequency to ours. I've posted this before, but definitely the time I fell asleep on my couch one night. I got woken up at 3 in the morning to a cell phone going off in the basement. One of those old Nokia ringtones. This was 2008. I froze in fear, realizing that someone was in my basement. When I finally summoned up the courage to check it out, I noticed the outside door to the basement was wide open. I should have called the cops first. One night my cat was asleep on the end of my bed, and just as I was drifting off to sleep they bolted up and started hissing. They hissed at my bedroom door, then backed away from something as if it had come into the room and was traveling round to my side of the bed. I felt this crushing, complete terror that just got heavier and heavier. I leapt out of bed and put on the lights. Cat still hissing and going apeshit at the spot next to where I was sleeping. Neither of us slept at all that night. It's never happened again. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that cat hiss. He is a big harmless boy. When I was at home I remembered seeing shadows running very fast past my parents' bedroom door and then slamming the door after it ran past. This was in the afternoon too. And I live in an apartment, so that was nowhere a bear or an animal in my apartment.